On episode 625 of the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast, we have the fourth part of a 6 episode series on building the best you. This episode is recorded to stand alone. However, you'll get more value if you listen to the previous episodes, 622, 623, and 624, in order first. You can find the full show notes for this episode at 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/625. Have you decided you're ready to make a change? To reclaim your health and fitness? The 40 Plus Fitness Podcast is here for you. Each week, we dive deep into health and fitness topics that affect those of us over 40. I'm Coach Allen. I'm an NASM certified personal trainer with specializations in corrective exercise, behavior change, performance enhancement, and fitness nutrition. A Precision Nutrition Level 1 coach, a FAI certified functional age-link specialist, and an OTA Level 2 online trainer. Each week, I'm joined by our co-host, Coach Rachel. She is an NASM certified personal trainer and a RRCA Level 1 run coach. Let us be your coaches as you find your way on your health and fitness journey. All right, let's go. Hi there, I'm Coach Allen. If you're over 40 and struggling to shed those extra pounds, I'm here to tell you that there's a better way, a path to lasting weight loss and a healthier you. I understand where you are all too well. You've tried countless diets and exercise programs that promise quick fixes, only to be disappointed and left feeling defeated. It's frustrating, and at times you probably feel a little hopeless. Even when you manage to lose some weight, it comes right back when you can't stick to the strict diet or intense workouts. I'm here to offer you something different, something that actually works. It's not a fad diet or a miracle pill. It's not a cookie cutter workout program. It's a transformative journey toward a healthier, happier you. Imagine yourself 15, 30, or even 65 pounds lighter, full of energy, and living life to the fullest. Does that sound like the journey you'd like to take? Well, I'm here to guide you every step of the way. I'm currently holding open enrollment for what I can best describe as a weight loss experience. You'll work directly with me to build a plan that's right for you. And I guarantee that you'll lose all the weight you want and build a lifestyle that will help you keep it off. But time is of the essence. The enrollment period for this life-changing weight loss coaching program ends on December 31st. I'm also limiting it to 20 participants. With what it will take for me to do this with you, I don't foresee another open enrollment for quite some time. Don't let another year slip away. I want you to take action right now. If you're ready to invest in yourself, to break free from the cycle of failed attempts, and to finally achieve the results you've been longing for, email me, coach@40plusfitness.com. Remember, you don't have to face this challenge alone. With the right guidance, support, and accountability, your weight loss goals can become reality. Email me today, coach@40plusfitness.com, and let's make 2024 the year you lose the weight and transform your life. Hey, Raz.
Hey, Alan. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, a whole 2 minutes.
Right?
Yeah, but I do have another thing I just kind of wanted to talk about this week is I have this little office and so I use it sometimes because it's just really hard for me to be at Lula's at times and things going on, and Tammy pokes her head and says, "Hey, and then she realizes I'm recording." So that happens a lot if I'm here.
Oh boy.
I seem to be needed a lot more when I'm here than when I'm not. So I don't know if that's true need. But anyway, I do have this little office, and I've had problems with the Wi-Fi there for a long, long time. And it's one of those things, I don't know what the problem is, but basically you reboot the router and it works for a short period of time, sometimes 5 minutes, maybe an hour, and then it goes down again, which is not good when you're recording an interview. And so it's happened to me a few times. And so I can't rely on the Wi-Fi. And I keep calling them and they're like, well, we were there, you just reboot it and it works. I'm like, that doesn't work when you're on a call and you fall off the call. That's fine if you're writing a letter, an email, and you save the
Mm-hmm.
email on your computer and then come back later. But that doesn't work for running calls and everything else. So anyway, there's that. And then there was my neighbors downstairs had a problem with their plumbing, so they just turned it off.
Oh boy.
So I didn't know this, and I flushed the toilet the night before, but the evening before when I left, and I came in the next morning, and oh, I got to go. So I sat down and had a nice go of it, and then there was no water in the toilet.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm taking the drinking water off my fountain and I'm flushing the toilet with it, and I'm thinking, okay,
Oh,
well it'll come back on. We had rain, it'll come. Nope. And so here I'm
oh
like
my
2 days
goodness.
later, and I'm like, I finally I messaged her and I said, okay, look, Wi-Fi is still doing what it was doing, and there's no water. I haven't had water for 2 weeks now. And she's like, oh, because I just decided I wasn't going to go to the bathroom at the office, which is kind of also uncomfortable to
Mm-hmm.
spend a whole day in the office and not actually go to the bathroom. But because I wasn't going to keep using that drinking water because that get pretty
Well,
expensive.
yeah.
Because I used almost a
Jeez.
whole 5 gallons to flush the toilet.
Oh.
Anyway, so I just said, okay, I told her, I said this. So I've been in the market for a new space, and there's
Mm-hmm.
a guy who's retrofitting a building he bought, and he's going to have office space. And so I went over there today to see it, and it's going to be nice, and it's on a quieter street, and it's
Nice.
going to be bigger than what I had before. So don't tell Tammy, but I'm thinking about buying a rower.
Oh
Um,
gosh.
I have a walking treadmill in my office, and
Oh,
so
nice.
now I think I'll have a rower um, in there
Sounds
if I
fun.
if I get it set up the way I want. Because I was looking at the space, I'm like, I could put a rower in here, sure.
Oh my
Uh,
goodness. How fun.
yeah, so I'm pretty excited about that. It's probably
Good.
a couple months away because they 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 gutted the building and they still have to build out, and they got the electrician coming in, and it's the same contractor that did the work at Lula's. So he works he's good, but paced.
Oh.
Yeah, next in a couple of weeks, in a week or so, we're going to talk about pace, but he's definitely minivan material.
Oh
But
boy.
he gets there, so that's all
Good.
good. But it's a couple months away, but I'm pretty excited to kind of have a meeting of minds with the landlord, and uh,
Nice.
planning to probably be moved in there by I'm guessing sometime in April.
Awesome. Well, it'd be nice to have a space where you can focus on your interviews and not be distracted.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
So how are things up there?
Good. I mentioned to you early this year, my thyroid is out of whack, and I was trying so hard to get it back together, and I just wrecked it again. I had a little bit of a head cold, and what I normally do I reach for Sudafed and a decongestant, Mucinex, those types of things. But I didn't read the label, and I didn't realize that people with thyroid disorders should not take those types of
Uh,
decongestants, and I just made it worse. I'm so mad, but I've been reaching for those types of decongestants all of my life. It is such a habit. I got to get used to having a thyroid, knowing that I have a thyroid disorder, and paying closer attention to drug interactions. And I'm just so mad that I set myself backwards.
yeah, that's unfortunate. I hope you're
Mm-hmm.
able to work through this. But
Yep.
we've become a drug culture, and by a drug
Mm-hmm.
culture, I don't mean everybody's hitting the reefer and coke and crack and everything else, but
Mm-hmm.
we turn to pills. We turn to pills here and there. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I had a headache yesterday, and I'm like, so I just need to drink more water and electrolytes, and I did that. I
Mm-hmm.
did that all
Good.
day long.
Mm-hmm.
And then last night I woke up and my head was still hurting. And I'm like,
Oh.
okay. So I actually this morning took some ibuprofen.
Mm-hmm.
I got to thinking as you were talking, I can't tell you the last time I took any medication.
That's really good because
Uh,
then you won't have a tolerance for it and it'll
yeah.
actually work when you
Yeah.
take it.
Yeah. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
any medication, like even through
Yep.
COVID, when I had COVID,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't take
Mm-hmm.
any medications. Because I never felt like I was in that place. But
Mm-hmm.
going basically what was 36 hours with a headache.
It's a lot.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, let's just because I'd slept. I was tired. I went to bed about I guess 8:30 last night. Woke up about two.
Mm-hmm.
Woke up about two. So that's not nearly enough sleep for me. But I was
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, my head hurts, and I said I'll just get up.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the reason why the I'm launching the 10,000 Club today was because I sat up this morning for a couple hours doing that before I went back to
Mm-hmm.
bed and had another couple good sleep cycles. So I'm well rested now, but I
Good,
got some work done. My head doesn't hurt anymore.
good.
But really, that's the first time I've taken any medication at all. And if you're things are going to go wacky in our bodies. So I'm not saying
Hmm.
you should never be on medication because there obviously are times when you just need to be.
It's necessary.
But too many
Yep.
times we turn to the medication as like just the habit. Oh,
Hmm. It
this
is.
hurts,
Hmm.
take this.
I
Oh,
know it
that
exactly
happened,
what to do.
do this. And
Hmm.
so it's just one of those things of just like with mindless eating,
Hmm.
let's not mindlessly medicate,
Yeah, right.
you
Well,
know.
you had a great strategy, Alan. You said you drank a lot of water, you had some electrolytes, you did all of the things that you could possibly do to strengthen your body to make it feel better to fight that headache. And that's a fantastic strategy. And when worst came to worst, if it wasn't working, then an ibuprofen would have been fine. I mean, and especially if you don't have a tolerance for you, a very small amount of ibuprofen would work effectively. But
Yeah.
yeah, I need to do that, but also pay attention to the drug interactions for where my body is today. And that is a dysregulated thyroid and
Yeah.
menopause. So I need to pay better attention to what I do to treat those types of symptoms.
All right. Well, are
Yeah.
you ready to get back into this six-part series of building the
Yes.
best you?
Awesome.
All right. This is part 4 of a six-part series, Building the Best You. Now, I'm recording this to be a standalone episode, but it's really going to be in your best interest if you listen to all of them in order. That way, you kind of get the gist of where we're going with this whole thing. So it's a six-part series, and this is part 4. Now, up until this time, we've dreamed, aspired, surveyed, and planned. We know what our best will look and feel like, and we have a good sense of how we're going to go about doing it, including some milestones that we expect to see along the way. So now it's time to break ground. Now, as you recall, my neighbor is building a bar and restaurant across the street. Now, this guy, Tommy, he had huge plans, huge dreams, and he used to talk to me about it all the time. So he would go out there and he would string out an outline of the building, and then he'd walk away. He wouldn't clear anything. He wouldn't do anything, and then months would go by. And there'd be no progress. And if we didn't send people over to clean up the property, so our guests would use the property from time to time to access the water. If we didn't send people over there, all this trash would collect up, everything would grow up. So we would send a guy over about once or twice a month just to keep it cleaned up and looking decent. Keep the city off of him as well, because Tommy lived in a different city. But at some point, um, he did start to show back up. And so this was the point where he broke ground. And so this is a big shift as you go into this. And in construction lingo, where we call this breaking ground, a couple things to think about. One, you're not going to get anywhere if you don't start. We can do all the planning and all the mindset work in the world, and it's important not to skip those. So the things we talked about in the first 3 episodes of this series on building the best you. You need to do those. You definitely need to have a dream. You definitely need to survey what's going on in your life, and you need to have a plan. Without that, you're going to have a whole lot of trouble. But at some point, you just got to get started. But because we're over 40, we've got to get started smart. Now, in the United States, they don't have that here so much, but in the United States, they do have a phone number. It's usually 811 in most areas, where you would call and they would send someone out to make sure that you can safely dig. Well, my neighbors apparently didn't do a lot of that stuff. They dug up a septic system when they were trying to lay their plumbing. But that said, you do at some point just need to break ground. You can't keep planning and waiting and holding on. You've got to start, and you've got to start smart. So to do that, I've come up with an acronym, START, and that stands for scheduled, tender, attainable, relevant, and tempting. Okay. So scheduled, it's the first letter in the acronym START. You've got to block out time on your calendar. Too many people will put a goal for themselves that they're going to go for a 30-minute walk every day, and they get to breakfast time and they didn't do their walk in the morning first thing, and they get to the middle of the day, lunchtime, something comes up and they didn't get their walk in. After work, something went down, they were a little late, they were tired, anything else could happen, and they didn't get their walk in. And by then, it's time to go to bed, or it's too dark and too raining or whatever, and they didn't get it done. So the first key to starting is you need to put on your schedule. The best way I like to look at this is you are the boss of you. And if you scheduled a meeting with your boss had a meeting scheduled with you would be there and you'd be there every time. You're not going to disrespect your boss and not show up for this meeting. So by putting it on your calendar, you're doing a few things. One is you are showing that respect to yourself, and that's really important here. The other thing that's happening is you're making sure other people can't step on your time because they will try. I always had my workouts scheduled at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. This became my lunch hour. And I would tell people, even including my boss, that this was my lunch hour. Unless I absolutely had to do something beforehand, I wasn't planning to do anything during that hour but train. And I'd walk over to the gym that was basically about a block away and I'd get my workout in. If he called me right beforehand, sometimes I ended up walking through C Suite wearing my shorts, gym shorts, and a t shirt. He might ask a couple questions. I'm like, I'm going to the gym to work out. Do you need this before, say, 4 o'clock? And if the answer is no, I'm headed to the gym. So make sure it's scheduled and make sure you stick to that schedule. The second one is Tinder. And by Tinder, I mean easy. You shouldn't put a whole lot on yourself at one time. Too many people will go in and say, okay, I'm going to change how I eat. I'm going to drink more water. I'm going to do meditation. I'm going to go to bed by 9 o'clock every night. I'm going to, and you start adding all these things up, and it's just a lot. And that makes it too difficult. And in many cases, because there's so much to do, we procrastinate and we don't get started. So make it something that you know you can do. Make it something that's generally easy. And so find one or two things that make the most sense. I'm going to tell you, typically that's going to relate to nutrition and movement, but find one or two things that make sense for you and do those things. Get it scheduled and do those two things. The next is make it attainable. Again, too often we're like, okay, well, I haven't done anything for years, and now I'm going to go out and run 3 miles every day because I knew I could run 3 miles before I stopped doing everything. That's not going to work. So make sure what you're doing is attainable. Make it something that you can do, starting where you are. But when I say attainable, I don't mean something that's just so attainable that you could do it without really a sweat, without any effort at all. It needs to be just on the edge of your comfort zone. So if we're consistently pushing ourselves just on the edge of our comfort zone, a little bit over most of the time, that's where we're going to see growth. So when you're getting started, push yourself right up to the edge of your comfort zone, and that's going to help you get started and get results faster. The next is relevant. So if you told me that you needed to lose weight, and I'm like, great, and your first action was to start meditation, I might have some questions. Now, it's not that meditation won't help you potentially lose weight, but it's obviously not the most relevant to weight loss. If you're not going to change the way you eat, no amount of meditation is going to help you. So, as you look at what you need, make sure that what you're going to do, the actions are relevant to that dream. Remember, we had that big dream and we set that big thing up there, and I want to be stronger. I want to be more fit. I want to lose some weight, and I want to fit in my clothes. I want to feel good. All those different things. Well, in many cases, as I mentioned earlier, the most relevant activities are going to be around nutrition and movement, particularly at the beginning. So make sure what you're planning to do is relevant to the goals and aspirations and dreams that you have. And then finally, tempting. And by tempting, I mean it should sort of be fun and enjoyable. It won't always be that way. There are times you're going to have to do some things that aren't all that fun and enjoyable if you're really going to make a fundamental shift in your health and fitness. But that said, it doesn't mean that this has to be all work and no play. If you can find things that you enjoy doing and they help move you towards where you want to go, which at the beginning, uh, just to face it, if we're out of shape, if we haven't taken care of ourselves, any movement is going to be good movement. So if you really enjoyed riding a bike, then get your bike out or buy a new bike, whatever you need, but make it something that's going to be fun and enjoyable. Maybe something you can do with the family. So going on an evening walk with your family, your kids, that might be your thing. And it'd be tempting, it'd be fun because now you're going to have family time that also involves you getting the ground broke, getting these things done. So just to kind of recap all of this, we're going to have these dreams and aspirations. We're going to know what we're working with, and we're going to have a plan. But until we get started, we're not going anywhere. So we have to break the ground. You break the ground by doing, but we want to do it in a smart way. So that brings up our acronym that your work and training and nutrition and everything should be scheduled. It should be a part of you and how you operate day to day. So putting on a schedule will help you do that and make sure you get it done. It should be tender, meaning you're going to start out with just a couple of small actions that you know you can do. And you're going to start with that so that you can get the ball rolling, break the ground. We're not going to go in there with heavy equipment and just start digging big holes in the ground. We're going to get a little spade shovel and we're going to dig a little bit just to get the things moving. Okay, it needs to be attainable, which means it's stretching you. It's right on the edge of your comfort zone, but it's something you know you can do. So you're not going to go from 0 to running a 5K in a day. So don't plan your workouts to be a 3-mile run or walk if you haven't done that before. Make it something you can do that's right on the edge of comfortable. Next, it needs to be relevant. So those big dreams and everything else we had, we want to be focused on things that are relevant. If you wanted to build that bar that my neighbor's building, and the first thing you need to do is to break the ground and clear all the weeds and everything out of the way. That's relevant. But if you got out there and said, okay, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant all these flowers in the front, and you're going to have work crews and everything else coming through there, not the best time to do that. So make sure it's relevant to what you're trying to accomplish and timely. And then the other thing is tempting. So there's no reason this can't be fun. You don't have to go out and do unfun stuff just to get where you want to go. There are going to be fun things you can do that will improve your fitness. So find things that are fun, find things that you enjoy, and that's going to help not only get you started right, but moving forward in the right direction and sticking with it. So I will talk to you with part 5 next week. Welcome back, Raz.
Hey, Alan, breaking ground. That's really a great analogy for this whole 6-part series, but it's for me equally nerve-wracking as exciting. Like sometimes it's great to put everything on paper. It's a safe place to build your plan, to know what you want to do. But then again, there's that gap of actually doing it and getting started and taking action. It's exciting, but also nerve-wracking sometimes.
Yeah. And a lot of us do this. That's why New Year's resolutions are such a struggle. In fact, we just passed Quitter's Day.
Oh, right.
Which is the second Friday,
right.
the second Friday in January is Quitter's Day.
I always forget that.
And that's when people will typically quit their New Year's resolutions because doing them is more painful than what they're getting from them, or they feel like they're getting from them. So you run into your second full weekend of the year and you want to go back to your old habits, your old things. And so, it is that getting started. You've set a really good framework for what you want and how you're going to get it and the actions that are necessary. And so now it's just do the thing.
Yeah.
We got to be smart about it because sometimes we can be a little aspirational on our goals. We can say, okay, I'm gonna run 20 days this month,
right,
thinking, oh, well, that get every third day I'm off. But then here you are, I guess we're sitting on what 16th, and you haven't run twice,
right?
Yeah, the math doesn't work out very well.
Right.
Okay,
well,
so
I was going to say that's why the S in your acronym of START, schedule, is so critically important. You got to put down on your calendar the days you're going to work out, but also not overdo it, not
Yeah.
over promise.
Right. And so if you know, okay, we're doing this big project, or I know I'm going to be traveling on Thursday and this
Mm-hmm.
and that, move it around.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at a very, very cool place in my world and in my life. Um, I schedule my stuff, I call it movement and self-care. So it's not always
Mm-hmm.
exercise. I'm not doing this exercise all that much, but I have 6 hours blocked out on my calendar practically every day of the week,
Mm-hmm.
just for movement and self-care.
That's awesome.
And so
That's a lot.
sometimes that's just getting outside and walking around.
Sure.
Sometimes it's just sitting, and it's not really, I'm not going to really call it meditation because it's not that organized, but it's just resting my brain and
Mm-hmm.
saying, okay, here's my gratitudes, here's this, here's that, and just kind of getting myself centered. And then sometimes it's about batch cooking and getting things together there.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's calling my mom, or my daughter, and
Mm-hmm.
having that conversation. And so self-care and movement are important to me. And so I blocked out big chunks of time in my day to have that
That's
time.
awesome.
And yeah, it means every morning I have a blocked out period of time. No one can book anything else. And so if I want to go for a 2 hour walk, I go for a 2 hour walk. If I want
Mm-hmm.
to lift weights in the afternoon, I can lift weights in the afternoon. Um, so it's just one of those things where I've blocked out the time to say, this is my time. This is me. Okay.
That's so
Uh,
important. Yeah.
and I'm not going to say, I've talked to some trainers. We had him on, one guy on, is you are the most important person in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just that prioritization of, if I don't have this self-care and movement time, I'm not going to be the best person I need to be for the
True.
people I care about. So
Mm-hmm.
this is an investment of time and effort that happens during these blocks of time. But you're right, it has to be on your schedule, or
Mm-hmm.
or other things shout it out. It's,
Mm-hmm.
oh, well, the phone rang. I was about to put my sneakers on and the phone rang. And so of course I picked it up. No, it's your schedule says it's sneaker time. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
okay, they'll leave if it's important, they'll leave a message, and there's
That's
nothing
true.
you're going to be able to do in the next 45
Mm-hmm.
minutes to save the world if it's a problem. You just, okay, I know, well, who it is. I'm like, okay, they may want to just talk. They may have a problem. It might be worse, but there's absolutely nothing I can do to help them right now where I
Mm-hmm.
am. They can leave a message. I can go for my
Sure.
walk. And 45 minutes later, I get back, I listen to the message,
Yeah,
and then I answer it. I do what I got to do then. But these blocks of time have to be solid, and you
for
have to hold
sure.
yourself to them. And so this is just a part of the whole thing of
Mm-hmm.
self-management. And if someone's working with me, they'll hear me say this over and over. Motivation is not something that just happens.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Motivation is earned. You have to do something. And
Sure.
within the framework that I talk about motivation, we often start with extrinsic things like the run group.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? The run group runs at a particular time.
Mm-hmm. Every
Okay.
time,
It's
every
not it's
week.
not
Yep.
asynchronous. It's not asynchronous. It's not like you can just go out and run when you want to and you're running with group. That's
Mm-hmm.
great. You can tell them after, I just finished 45 minutes. Or I know you did the challenge where everybody was trying to do a mile, at least a mile
Mm-hmm.
every single day. And that
Mm-hmm.
was wonderful. That was asynchronous,
Mm-hmm.
social and extrinsic. But a lot of these are not. You're going to meet someone at the gym, you're going to be there at a certain time. You have a trainer that you're going to meet at a certain time, you're there that
Mm-hmm.
time. That's extrinsic, and that really helps you schedule this stuff.
It does.
But when it's just you doing the work,
Mm-hmm.
that's when that intrinsic leader, you,
Mm-hmm.
CEO of your body,
Mm-hmm.
makes the management decision. No,
Yeah.
don't answer that phone. Put on your damn
Mm-hmm.
sneakers and get out the door.
Well, that's so important. We do have to realize that we are the leader of our own schedule. But, Alan, I mentioned my thyroid's out of whack and I can't run the way I used to. I can't be an ultra marathoner like I was just last year. So that means I have to do the other things to get my thyroid and my body in shape so that I can get back to ultra running when my body is ready. So like you were saying, lifting weights is not my favorite thing to do, but I need to do it. I need to get into the gym. And so how important is this to me? Super important, which is why I'm going to go do the things that I need to do. And that's the same thing for everybody else out there. You just need to prioritize what is important to you and get to doing it.
Yeah. And we can dive into that topic about
Mhm.
thyroid and not being able to do what you want to do next week. 'Cause
True. Mhm.
that is a big part of the process as we're going through this, is setting our foundation, and then of course doing the construction. So over the course of the next 2 weeks, we'll talk about that, and
Awesome.
I want you to bring that back up.
Absolutely. Glad to share.
All right. So you have a great week, and I will talk to you
Thanks.
next week.
Take care, Alan. Thank
You
you.
too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Next time on the 40 Plus Fitness podcast, we have the fifth part of this 6 episode series on building the best you. Until then, have a happy and healthy week.